chocolate-covered custard, please.
Wait, I haven't finished the eating this.
All right, that's good.
Or,
Swallow it.
You want the bone?
Yeah, take the bone.
Yeah,
I
here,
love the bone.
have the bone.
Bone to the dog. Hey,
the
everybody. Welcome to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. I'm Ted Bonnet.
I'm Phil Proctor. We have a special sit-in guest today who has been on our show before.
Yeah.
Adele Abrams, who ex-disc jockey of WHFS fame in Bethesda, Maryland, and now super safety lawyer.
Prominent D.C. lawyer.
She's in the belly of the beast.
So we're having an early Thanksgiving dinner. You're invited as a listener. You're invited. We're going to have...
I'm sorry. I spilled some cranberry sauce.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Jeez. That doesn't
Go
come
ahead.
out.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
There
interrupt.
goes my white
I know.
cape.
I'm sorry.
Oh, well. Okay.
Here, put some mashed potatoes in there. Then you won't see it.
Did you want some frozen hogsicles?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've sworn off those for the...
Well, for appetizers, I brought snout snips.
That's good.
They're
I like them.
delicious.
And I have some dog food snacks that I ate by mistake when I was with Adele back east. This is
true.
And I highly recommend them. Here they are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, everyone, we're having an early Thanksgiving dinner. You're invited, and we're going to invite you to call in a little bit, but we have some really wonderful guests today. And I thought we would start off.
What, besides Adele?
Yes, because it's a Thanksgiving dinner, and we're going into a very interesting few next years.
Interesting? That's an interesting
I think that's
word.
about as neutral as I can put it. I thought we should have an early Thanksgiving dinner and invite only the guests we could invite.
Yeah.
And I'm very honored to be able to introduce my dear friend David Swallow Jr., who is a Lakota Oglala Sioux headman of the tribe up in Wounded Knee.
Ooh.
David, I thought, could offer some perspective on
I'll bet he can.
what happens when angry white guys take over the government. Mm-hmm. David, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, David.
Hi, David. How are you?
Okay, well, stay.
So you're in
Let's see.
the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota?
Right.
You live in
Right.
you live in a small town called, if you can even call it a town, Porcupine.
One post office, that's all.
David has a real interesting history. Not only is he a headman of the tribe, which means you watch over thousands of tribal members, you are a traditional medicine man, and I've seen you work your magic in ceremonies. David is one of those special people who really have something that is invaluable, especially now. You were in the Wounded Knee confrontation. You have quite a history dealing with the U.S. government. You're still fighting the fight, trying to get the Laramie Treaty honored, getting the Black Hills back, giving up all your Social Security benefits just so you aren't tied to it, so you can set an example for your people about independence. And it's so honorable what you do and the price you've paid. And I thought it would be wonderful to have you not only give us a blessing at our Thanksgiving dinner today, but also what you and your people have endured over the centuries with the U.S. government. And now that we have what is promising to be a very harsh, cruel, and angry white rich man government.
Yellow hair.
Yeah,
again.
yellow hair. We were
the
talking
yellow
about
hair.
that the other day, David. My goodness, if anyone has a perspective on this over the years and have paid the price for this, it's you and your people, the Lakota, and all the Native
Yeah,
Americans.
so what do you have to be thankful for?
So we're trying to have a dinner here of being thankful. As I understand it, the roots of Thanksgiving dinner had to do with the relations of the Pilgrims and the Native Americans back in Massachusetts. What is your perspective on what's going on right now with Washington and the country?
Well, as one of the indigenous people that are living out here, Washington is always a problem.
Yeah.
Always, yeah. Always a problem. Washington cannot keep their promises, cannot keep their words. They just cannot keep the truth. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Washington is, and for a long, long time, 1868, 1851, my grandfathers, they have signed the treaty with the military.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, what they have promised us, we're never seen it. Only thing that we see that they promised is to take our land, and did. So, Washington is always a problem,
Yes.
And only time a presidential candidate or any political figure that's going to win the world's or the nation's attention is when they visit the Indian countries. So that's only time. They come down and afterwards, nothing,
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, if you move the letters of Washington, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you move the letters of Washington, D.C. around, it spells, or it says, CD, S word, go down.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. I know one thing about what your next president is that there are going to be a lot of changes that you don't agree with.
Right.
But see, we've been suffering since we're trying to be an American. We've been suffering, us indigenous people. We starve, we die, many things.
Mm-hmm.
Drugs, alcohol, poverty, you name it.
Yeah.
Not only drug abusing, but drugs malpracticing, stuff like that, Many things. Experimental programs that have been tried out on every reservations of the indigenous nations, So we've been there. You Americans have never been there yet.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's our turn.
We have
not because it's not a place to be.
I quite understand. I'm very sympathetic.
I mean, we have a convicted felon who is promising and making overt moves to be the most corrupt administration in recent memory, maybe modern times. We have basically it's the wealth class doing a hostile takeover, promising more tax cuts for them and less benefits for the people who have earned them in the lower middle class and middle class. I think anybody outside the 1% now is very vulnerable. And I think people will realize that haven't already that they've elected a well-known con man who has a personality disorder that is going to be retribution. This is something that the Native American tribes have endured from the beginning of this republic.
True, very true. That's true. Way from the beginning when we start trusting the government.
Yeah.
That's what happened to us because we trust them. They have the words and they give us the word. And when the word ain't worth it, then here we are today. We even went through many of this, a lot of things. Look at Wounded Knee Massacre, 1890,
1890.
Look at that.
Not that long ago.
Yeah, December 20, 1890. It's, those people, those military that caused that, whoever makes that decision for the soldiers to come and kill these unarmed Native American citizens. And now it already happened, so they should have been tried for war crimes, But no, nothing happened. See?
Nope,
therefore, we
right.
lived that before.
You're listening to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show, and our special guest is David Swallow, a headman for the Oglala Sioux tribe, calling us today from Wounded Knee area in Porcupine, South Dakota. David, the sense of hopelessness people feel and what they fear is going to happen to this country over the next 4 years, which are not unfounded fears. But when you look at a relative situation that you face and your people face, winter alone is a very dangerous thing. People die because they don't have heat and it's a very cold area. The other thing is the epidemic of youth suicide on your reservation because of a sense of hopelessness. And I know that you deal with that directly, helping people with that kind of grief. What do you do when you help these people, and what can that maybe translate to people right now who are not in your tribe but are all over the country, in Los Angeles, who are facing issues like what relative to what you have faced to a much greater degree?
Exactly. 2% tax cut. Well, compare that living on this reservation. No economy. 1892, they made the reservation and they put us here. Till Washington, D.C. decided what we're going to do with us. So in the meantime, They took the children and sent them to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, in the Indian boarding school and all over the boarding schools all over. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Against their will. Yeah. Now today, you take American child from their parents without the permission, or with or without, and force them into another school somewhere, into another nation, and we call that child trafficking.
Yes, that's right. Adele has a question for you. Adele is my friend who is a super lawyer. And here, go ahead, Adele. What's your question?
Yes, I was wondering what your thoughts are about President-elect Trump naming South Dakota Governor Burgum to be Secretary of Interior. And do you think they're going to try to plunder, the tribal lands now for rare earth mining and expansion of drilling, as he's kind of promised as Secretary of the Interior?
Well, even though we object to it, they're still going to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to happen. They got the power. They got the money.
Yeah, and the so-called mandate.
And it will happen. But one thing, on the other hand, is it's a long story. It's a very long story of this reservations of indigenous people all over on this land. We call it Turtle Island. You call it the United States of America.
Wow.
Yeah. And on this land here, what I could talk about is I could represent the people from the east banks of the Mississippi River westward down this way. See? So anything, it don't matter what I say. They're going to drill, they're going to drill.
Yeah, drill, baby, drill.
Right. They're going to mine, they're going to mine. They're going to pollute it, they already did it. And it's nothing new for them, and also for us, too.
Ted was saying, that Trump is a great con man, and it's interesting because Firesign Theater, which is a satirical comedy group that I was involved with for over 50 years, I created a character who was a church of consumerism, and his motto was, let's eat. And he said the word, and we ate it. Let's eat. And that's exactly, in a consumer-oriented society, people were really ready to eat it, man, and boy, did they ever.
Oh, yeah.
Now, David, you fought against the Keystone Pipeline. You were very active on that, and that succeeded. I think if there's anyone that personifies hope, it's you. You're going to be coming through Los Angeles, and we're going to have you on the show in person when you're here. But for Thanksgiving, what can you offer people who are feeling a little hopeless right now?
Besides corn.
Well, look at this. Look at this. Hope is the only thing you have. Sometimes hope could accomplish great things. So without hope, you have nothing. When you live on the reservation, on this Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, it was known to the politicians as Camp Number 344. It's a camp. It's not a state. It's a federal holding camp.
Wow.
Camp.
So here people have hope. They hope for something. They hope for this. They hope for that.
Is there any way that other people can help the indigenous peoples with their problems and their strife and, support them in their need?
Well, they could. First of all, we need to be rehabilitated from alcohol and drugs. We need to be rehabilitated from the colonization into our own culture and language.
Yes.
And the abject poverty of what you're facing, just any money, funds that will go directly to help feed people and keep their heat going in the winter.
I'll tell you this. Washington sent us millions of dollars, okay? Trillions of dollars.
Yes.
Of your tax money. But it didn't come to us because the Bureau of Indian Affairs took half of it. Then when it comes to each reservation on this Turtle Island, then what we call it the IRA, Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, Senator Howard and Senator Wheeler create this, and they took the rest. That's why nothing comes to the reservation, to the people.
How can people help you directly?
Well, if the people could help me directly, I'm doing it myself, and I got a propane funding, and then I got a wood. That's best,
Yeah.
And whatever we can here, like that. See, so that's a part of this whole thing that we've been living with it, and you just have to understand, But you want to be thankful. Be thankful for the air that you breathe when you get up in the morning. Be thankful for that you walked on your streets and say hello to your family and all that. When the corporate America and the traditional America collided, the life we know will be no more.
If you are listening to this and you want to help David and his family and his people there, you can drop me an email at info@sexyboomershow.com. info@sexyboomershow.com, and I will put you in touch with the right people to help them. David, before we go, since we're having our Thanksgiving dinner, and I'm so happy you could join us, would you please give us a blessing?
I will, because everybody needs one today and tomorrow. O hechetu na hinawa stiktelo o hechumelo metakwe ask. That's my traditional language. Giving a blessing to the whole people and all my relatives and everything that were relatives, and we are all related. I was telling to the four directions and the Great Spirit and Mother Earth. Aho.
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 Bless you, David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you so much for joining us today at our table.
And we look forward to seeing you in the studio.
Yes, we'll see you here soon, I hope, and love to your family and Nyla, your half side.
I will. Okay.
Okay, well,
there was a blessing.
Yes, we have a
David is a remarkable man. I've had the honor of being a friend of his for almost 30 years.
Yeah, you've told me some extraordinary stories.
We've gone some real adventures, literally had visions. I mean, the man is
magical
plugged in.
And psychic adventures. And
fantastic.
things.
And anyway.
Even extraterrestrial? Is some of the extraterrestrial adventures?
Well, let's just put it this way. I photographed a vision that we had.
Wow.
Which was pretty dramatic, which resulted in something solving a 100-year mystery the very next day in Deadwood.
Goodness.
There's a whole story. Maybe we'll talk about it when he's here.
Well, I have a story about a mystery, too. A friend of the Firesign Theater is a great photographer named John Rose, no longer with us. He spent a Thanksgiving in France, in Paris, with some friends, and they asked him, would you describe a traditional American Thanksgiving? And he said, certainement. He didn't speak French all that well, but, he said, on prend le nain et on le tue. You take the, he thought he was saying, you take the turkey and you kill it and you prepare it and you stuff it and you cook it in the oven, and it becomes the centerpiece for a wonderful dinner, and you sit and you carve the turkey and pass it around to everybody. Now, he's saying this story, and he notices that his French friends are looking a little unsettled, a little perturbed, a little angry even, and some of them leave the room before he finishes his story. Well, he says, what did I say something wrong? So one of his friends leans over. He said, you said you kill the dwarf, you stuff the dwarf, and you carve the dwarf, and my friends are thinking you are making fun of them. This is because the word na and the word dinde, which is turkey, he got them confused. So don't crush that dwarf. Pass it around.
Handle the groat cluster, please.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, here you go. There's only a few left. They're nice. So good.
Crunchy.
Here, let me just finish this one.
Watch, it'll break your tooth. Our guest, Adele Abrams, is here. Thank you, Adele, for joining us again. You've been on the show before. Thank you for coming to dinner.
I want to know which one is the turkey. That's the down
between the two of us?
Yeah, usually both. Adele,
I'm a wingman, he's a leg man.
Here, have another snout snip.
Thank you.
You are an inside-the-beltway lawyer.
Technically, yes. I live on Capitol Hill. So.
That's right. And you are a very prominent labor rights lawyer. What are you seeing happening in Washington already now on the legal administrative front?
Well, first of all, we have, literally millions of federal employees who are looking at the end of their careers. So from a local perspective in the D.C. area, there's immense uncertainty. It's going to have a ripple effect on everything from real estate prices to schools and the fabric of the communities, because for the D.C. area, we call it the DMV, D.C., Maryland, and Northern Virginia, it's a company town. And if the federal government slices and burns, as Vivek is saying, based upon, whether your birthday is even and odd, you're going to lose your job. Well, that shows how frivolous they're being, first of all. Yeah. There's two things going on. You've got one group from the victors who simply are chaos agents, and they want to burn it all down. Mm-hmm. And to some extent, Trump is facilitating that by picking people to head these cabinets positions who are totally unqualified for the agencies in which they're being placed in charge. Right. Yep. Then you have, I'll call it the sane but venal characters who are in it for the money, who want to drill baby drill, as we spoke about with the interior, just strip mine vast portions of the United States if it'll bring them profit. And they are in charge, or will be in charge, of certain agencies where their deregulatory activities will facilitate their profit, essentially. So Department of Education, you take the woman who is the wife of the wrestling organization to head the Department of Education. She is admitted, she lied even about having a degree in education, but she's not there to improve public education. She's there to kill the Department of Education.
Oh, I think they'd use the word overhaul.
Yeah. Now,
it's easy to wreck things. It's easy to tear things down.
Yeah, but they don't have a constructive plan for anything that would be improving life for the average American. They're putting Dr. Oz in charge of our Medicare and Medicaid, and
we all know the Wizard
gets
of Oz
Medicare.
Con man, right?
I don't care for that very much, especially when they're talking about throwing huge numbers of people off or raising the retirement age for Social Security to 70. There are a lot of people now who are you were asking about. In advance of Trump coming in, how are people changing behavior? People are quitting their jobs and going on Social Security now out of fear that if you're not already a recipient, you're going to be barred from getting it. Same thing with Medicare. You need to file for that and anticipate that there are going to be cutbacks. But those are some of the immediate effects, and of course we have people in droves. I was talking about this earlier. I do litigation with the federal government quite often on the safety and health area, and literally there are 30% of the attorneys in the U.S. Solicitor's Office and the Department of Labor who are quitting. Because they figure they're not going to have jobs come next year.
What's interesting is the Beltway has always been immune from recessions because it was always self-funded. What I see happening is these TV hosts taking over the administrations, which or people with sex offenses to make them pliable.
Pliable meaning blackmailable.
Yeah.
What they're doing is looking at eliminating some of these public agencies, and then privatization, which means Musk, for example, in the case of NASA, will jump in. Now, a little bit more, sinister is getting rid of things like NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
Because they want to privatize it?
They want to privatize it, but in the meantime, we're going to be losing access to important critical information about hurricanes, tornadoes, and right at a time when climate change is exacerbating the impact of all of that. We talked a little bit off air about the issue that a lot of people are unaware of, and that is we are currently in fiscal year 2025. It started October 1st. We are operating under a continuing resolution because none of the appropriations bills passed by the Senate were ratified by the House of Representatives.
That's right.
All funding starts in the House. Speaker Mike Johnson has indicated now that when the current continuing resolution expires December 20th, he is not going to convene the Appropriations Committee again until after Donald Trump is inaugurated. So that means we're going to have December 20th to January 20th with the federal government shut down. No continuing resolution, no omnibus bill, and that is going to impact every aspect of our lives, from Social Security checks and Medicare to air traffic controllers to continuation of highway projects.
I mean, what are the odds of that actually happening? Because it would be disastrous before he even got into office to allow that to happen.
But they don't care. As you know, the cruelty is the point, as was suggested, and there is precedent. I remember, ironically, in December of 1995, I happened to be in Australia because I was celebrating passing the bar exam. This is how long ago it was.
Did you pass it by going down under?
I was passing going under, and I was in Australia waiting to come back to the U.S., and the federal government did shut down. This was during the Clinton administration, and he had a hostile Congress. And they did do that. I mean, it threw our flights back into the U.S. even into uncertainty. And there were federal workers who were harmed. Now, back then, we have had government shutdowns periodically, but they always paid the workers retroactively for those shutdowns.
I see.
If we shut down for a month with the promise that when the new administration comes in, we're going to cut up to 80% of federal workers, those people aren't going to stick around knowing that they're not going to get paid retroactively. They're going to be. It's going to be. It's one way of jump-starting the government employee attrition, and those positions will never be filled. So if you've called the Social Security office and you've been on hold for an hour before, figure it's going to be all day.
Has the groundwork been laid by this effort that even a midterm turnaround will make a difference?
It depends, really, how accelerated the deconstruction and deregulatory effort is. And there's two things going on that, for those who may be concerned out there, it's important to clarify. How can they abolish an agency? That's the question. If it is an agency that was created under congressional fiat, OSHA being a good example, the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970 created the agency OSHA. It created NIOSH, National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. They cannot, through executive branch order, dissolve OSHA. It would take an act of Congress. Right now, however, even in anticipation of this, Congressman Andy Biggs introduced H.R. 69, and that is the NOSHA Act, and it would repeal the 1970 Occupational Safety and Health Act, and it would repeal the agencies created. So if that bill passes, then yes, OSHA's gone.
And what are you going to do for a living?
Can that pass by a simple majority?
It can, but it won't now because they don't have the Senate. Come January, that could go through as greased pig kind of thing.
It's going to really be interesting to see how far the GOP, what's left of it, is going to remain in lockstep with terror.
God, I hate that we're putting our faith in Mitch McConnell, though, huh? I mean, we've got McConnell, we've got Collins, we've got Murkowski.
Well, let's not forget we're having Thanksgiving. It's a little bit of a downer, but it beats a crazy uncle.
Yeah, could you pass me the pecan pie, by the way?
To Carmen. Hi, Carmen.
Hi there. I'm from Southern California. It's up in the high deserts, right next to the mountains.
You getting some snow?
Well, we've had snow in the last few weeks, and right now the snow, most of it kind of just melted away, but it's cold.
Yes.
It's cold up there.
Yeah. By the way, Adele said to me the other day, does it snow here?
Yeah, it does. I live at 4,200 feet elevation, and it snows.
Well,
we get snow.
Well, welcome to the Thanksgiving table. Did you want to make an offering of some kind?
I am very thankful and grateful for the Thanksgiving of goodwill that I grew up with and I know. But I also want to pay respects to the origins of where that all started with the celebrating of the Englishmen in the 1600s of wiping out the Pequot and other nations, and then they would celebrate. Yeah. They would anytime they killed an entire village or what they thought was an entire village, they would celebrate. And then Lincoln brought that into, I believe it was Lincoln that brought it into an official holiday. But for the first 100 years, that was like a woohoo, we killed him kind of celebration. And then it started to change. And so then we got this revision of history where we're like, peaceful union of these Indians and these settlers,
right.
And all that kind of thing. But, I know that that's not something that we normally learn in history.
Yeah. So revisionist history has taken something which was warlike and turned it into something which is pacifist. Right.
Bilingual. I'm a translator at our local high school up here in Phelan, and I work with primarily a lot of non-English speakers, and right now the majority of them happen to be unaccompanied children, and so I work. And so the policies that are going to be supposedly instituted by the Trump administration has a lot of kids terrified.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Well, they're promising to separate families, and remember they caged children before in the first administration.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have kids that were recipients of that. They were in coolers where they were freezing to death, and they called them the hieleras, the coolers.
Wow.
And they were kids that died in there, and from being unattended. But anyway, so there, I have a lot of firsthand experience with people that have gone that route, and so I just wanted to share a little bit of that because all that is coming back. I've got kids say, Miss, my mom says she's going to have to leave me here so that I'm safe because he was born here, and but she wasn't, and so she's going to leave me here, but I don't know where I'm going to live.
My goodness. Well, muchas gracias para su servicio.
Thank you, Carmen.
Okay.
Thank you for doing the good work.
Serve.
Keep it up. I'm very happy that I'm in California because we are a state that is the 5th largest economy in the world. And we can stand up to this, and we're going to stand up to this, because maybe this is going to stimulate localism and states to fight and maybe redefine our republic, where it certainly is overdue for that. And again, that's what makes Pacifica great, like Will Lewis, who started this. We are the only station that is completely free speech because we don't take money from corporations and we don't have advertising. And we have Pacifica stations in Washington, in New York, Houston, and the Bay Area. I just hope that we're going to be part of something very special. And I know that Trump has already promised to take licenses away from people he doesn't like. We'll see if that happens. Yeah. But Pacifica is very vulnerable.
It's like Radio Free America.
Don't forget,
potentially.
I mean, Project 2025 calls for strafing any funding for National Public Radio, for Corporation for Public Broadcasting, PBS, and we are going to be relying upon citizen support for free broadcasting, if we are able to push back against the forces that are coming in at the FCC.
Right.
I mean, we may be looking at Radio Caroline, off the coast of California here. You'll be waving to them from Santa Monica at the beach. But, it's not unthinkable.
No,
and especially when you have people like Elon Musk saying, oh, maybe I'll buy MSNBC.
Nothing is off the table. Bruce.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey. What's up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome to the table.
I didn't know you were going to do a call-in. I would have had more time. I would have come up with a better question. But I've been a fire sign fan since in the early '70s. I had an older sibling that bought a copy of the Don't Crush That Dwarf. And anyway, the only question I can think of, what exactly is a groat cluster?
Groat cluster is actually a medieval snack. It was very popular at the early Renaissance pleasure fairs back in the 1500s.
Yeah.
It's pounded wheat, if you will, which is the name of the original cereal, pounded wheat, back in the 1400s, I think that was. Mm-hmm. But it didn't catch on because people confused it with pounding meat, and that had a bad connotation. So
I'm not sure I believe you.
You don't have to, because the major question is, what is reality? And as we know, everybody now has their own reality. So who's to say that I'm just making this all up?
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce, you troublemaker.
And let's talk to Mike. You have a bone to pick, I hear.
Please, people, no poultry bones to dogs.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that.
That was Mike's call to warn us
This
against
message brought to you by
poultry
Luna.
legs to dogs.
Hey, whatever's on your mind is welcome at our Thanksgiving
shows you
table.
No, really, people are very aware out there, and they love animals, and we love animals too, especially when they taste as good as this dog does. I don't even know what
You're eating the dogs. You're eating the cats. Uh-oh.
Is this the squirrel?
That's
a little chewy, but
yeah.
it's good. Can I have another piece of tail?
Sure.
Over there? Thank you.
Hey, come on now.
That's good. What do you mean, come on? Pass it over here.
Here.
Don't be funny, Thank you. Oh, this has got fur on it still. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to pass it.
Here, have the frozen hogsicle. You can't beat it.
Okay.
Well, in our remaining time left.
Wait a minute. In what sense of the word do you mean that?
As a Washington lawyer.
That sounds like a curse somehow. I don't
know.
That's
but
Washington
it's
liar.
important to have good Washington lawyers, and you fight for labor rights. And since we're here at the Thanksgiving table, a little hope. We hear all these threats and promises, but how much of it's going to really happen? What are the roadblocks that could protect us?
Trump really wants to be a popular politician when you get down to it, so a lot of this might be just bluster. But what do you think?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, for hope, the House majority that is Republican is very narrow. As of right now, they have 219. They need 218 for a majority. And Trump, being a bit of an idiot, is picking people from the House GOP to staff his cabinet. Every time he pulls one of those, there's going to be a special election. If what he does is unpopular enough, though a few of those seats could flip, and there's still 3 undecided seats. So, if they go Democrat, then really we just have to flip 1 or 2 seats of people like Gates. Granted, that's probably not going to happen, but there are a few others, Waltz, Elise Stefanik, that maybe those seats could go to a Democrat.
Oh, that's encouraging.
And that would shift the power. All we need is one of the chambers, and a lot of what they're looking to do can be blocked. If we can hold the line till the midterms and flip either the House or the Senate or both at that term, that will stop the Trump agenda pretty much dead in its tracks. So there's some hope.
Thanks.
It takes time. It takes upwards of 18 months to unwind some laws, and then there's going to be court challenges. So much of what he wants to unwind, like the Infrastructure Act, greatly benefits the red states. I'm hoping you're right that much of this is bluster. At the very least, maybe we can hope for chaos and not a lot of results. But God forbid bird flu, which is being ignored and certainly coming up.
That'll be our next program.
Yeah, and it's not encouraging when you think about what he did on his watch with COVID, inject bleach and millions died. So the bird flu, these are things, and climate change, which you cannot delay any longer. These are the things that maybe people, if they need to, take to the streets. We'll see if the U.S. military will turn on their own people. I don't see that happening.
No,
that is the biggest thing. He has said about declaring martial law and using the military from day one. If that happens, we are going to be really in a different America than any of us have ever experienced before.
But he also said, can't you just shoot them in the legs? Remember that? The protesters?
Yeah, but then they're taking away health care, so we can't get our shot legs fixed. I mean,
it's bleak. We did elect a mad king. Where else can you go to a Thanksgiving dinner, be invited, all comers, be invited to hear some truth and unvarnished talk?
By the way, would you like the unvarnished turnips?
Yeah, could I have some more sugar coating on that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Adele, and thank you, David Swallow Jr. There is a lot to be thankful for. We have so much going for us. We do have our freedoms, and you do have your friends and loved ones. Just be close to the people you love and trust, and we will get through this together. All right, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, dear friends.
I'm Ted Bonnet.
I'm Phil Proctor.
And this is Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. And you can hear our shows, all of them, at our website, sexyboomershow.com, and on all your favorite
Stay sexy,
podcast
folks.
platforms. We'll see you next week.
Bye.